Up next, please welcome Aaron Wetzel, Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest Ambassador, to introduce our exciting keynote speaker, Samra Zafar.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aaron Wetzel, and I am the 2020 Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest Ambassador. I am so excited to welcome you to the first ever virtual Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest Rogers Women of the Year ceremony, and congratulations to all of the nominees. I'm also very excited to be able to announce tonight's keynote speaker, Samra Zafar. Samra Zafar is an award-winning, internationally renowned speaker, best-selling author, and educator for equity, mental health, and human rights. She has been named one of the top 100 most powerful women in Canada, one of the top 25 most inspirational women in Canada, and one of the top 25 Canadian immigrants. Her book, A Good Wife, Escaping the Life I Never Chose, is based on her journey of escaping an abusive child marriage to pursue her education. She sheds light on gender-based oppression, and it was one of CBC's best books of 2019, and it is being adapted into a premium television series. Samra's work has impacted millions of people and has been extensively covered in global and national media. We are so pleased and proud to have Samra join us tonight as the keynote speaker at the 2021 Women of the Year Awards. Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you so much. It is an absolute honor, and I have been in awe of all the messages that I've been reading and all the reading all the nominations over the past week, and just filled with so much powerful feminine and women energy. So congratulations to all of the nominees, and I can't wait to congratulate the winners as well. And it would have been nice to do this in person, but this is the next best thing we get, and we will not hold back from celebrating as much as we possibly can. And that kind of brings me to my talk today, and this topic of my talk especially it was really, I was thinking about so many different times in my life where I felt, or I was made to feel by people around me and the systems that I grew up in and the kind of patriarchal environment that I grew up in, that I needed to diminish my voice. I needed to be less of who I am. I needed to fit into certain cultural, societal, and gender-based boxes that were prescribed for me in order to be accepted, respected, loved. And that was really the entirety of my childhood, and even a lot of my adulthood. Growing up, I was told that my dreams were not too valid because I was a girl. Growing up, I was told that it's okay to, dream, but just don't expect those dreams to come true because that would be unrealistic. And when I was about 16 or so, my mom came into my room one day, and I was, a very happy kind of boundary pusher kind of a teenage girl. So even in my limited, very patriarchal upbringing, I was always trying to push the envelope in my own little ways. So when I wasn't allowed to play cricket outside with the boys anymore, I started my own girls cricket team in my tiny little school. Or I started a school newspaper to share all my radical ideas of gender equality and empowerment for everybody. So I never really thought that something like this would happen to me. I thought, yeah, everybody talks about it, but it's not like I'm going to be married. I want to go to Harvard and Stanford and change the world and make a difference, et cetera, et cetera. So when my mom came into my room one day, when I was 16 years old, I was doing my math homework. She put a glass of orange juice and stroked my hair lovingly and pretty much announced that in a few months, I would be getting married to a man who lives in this faraway country called Canada. And I grew up, I'm from Pakistan, and I grew up in Abu Dhabi. So I was like, in a desert. The only thing I'd heard about Canada was snow. And so I thought she was joking. I thought, like, this can't be true. I can't possibly be married. I'm in grade 11. I'm 16. Everybody knows that I want to go to university and get an education. But everybody around me told me that that was the best thing for me. I would be ungrateful if I said no. I would be going against the norms, and I would become a bad woman and a bad girl and an ungrateful child and disobedient, et cetera, et cetera. And having been conditioned to fit into those boxes from a very young age, I didn't want to be labeled all those bad things. So I lost my voice and I lost my ability to say no. For a little while, I protested, but then I just gave in. I thought, well, everybody around me is telling me this is the best thing for me. So maybe they're all right. I mean, what do I know? I'm 16. And a few months later, just after my 17th birthday, I was decked up in red and gold, sitting beside this man who was 11 years older than me. I had never met him before. He was an absolute stranger, and he was now my new husband. And a few months after that, I arrived in this big, beautiful, and very, very cold country as his wife. At that point, I was told that I can't go to a regular high school to finish my high school because it would be inappropriate. I was now a wife, a soon to be a mom. When I became a teenage mom, I was told that my job was to stay home and protect the family honor. And the fact that I wasn't being given any kind of freedom, autonomy, independence, ability to make friends, go outside, or do any of the normal things that people around me seemed to be doing, that I was being constrained for my own good, that because the women that become too independent or go out and gain too much freedom are spoiled women. So I was being protected from being corrupted, so to speak. So again, because I was being trained, and initially I resisted, and then I started to diminish myself even more, go into my shell even more. And I became a hollow shell of myself, somebody who was trying so hard to be a good wife, a good mom, a good daughter-in-law, a good woman, but somehow always falling short of that pedestal that seemed impossible to climb. And every time I fell short, I suffered the consequences. Initially, those consequences were verbal and emotional. And over time, the bruises on my soul turned into the bruises on my body. And at that point as well, whenever I would question, why is this happening to me? Why are you treating me this way? Why am I being insulted and treated with so much disrespect every single day? I would hear the words, because you deserve it. And when I heard those words every day, I started internalizing them to a point where within a few years, I really believed deep down that there is something inherently wrong with me, that I was not worthy of love, respect, kindness. I was not good enough to be treated like a human being. I was not deserving enough of being able to pursue the dreams and goals that I had. It was like, I often describe that time as living in a dark box with enough air that you could breathe and just survive. You could get by, but not enough that you could actually breathe deeply and thrive. It was like living in a state of constant suffocation, every day waking up and wishing that it would be a dull day, an uneventful day, because that would be a good day. Every day wishing that I don't do something to make things angry and ruffle the feathers and make it worse. But even during those very dark days, there was something in me. There was this little voice in my head that would just never go away. No matter how much I tried to silence it, there was this little, I used to call it a bug, like this bug in my head that was just, I want to go to school. I want to get an education. This doesn't feel right. This can't be okay. What if there is a way forward? What if there is a way out? I would see women around me. I mean, I was living in Mississauga. I would see women around me going to work, going to school. I would see, his friends and other people in the neighborhood. I would see my daughter's teachers who would be women. And I was like, well, these are women too. Like, so why am I so different? Why am I so unworthy? Why can't I pursue my goals and dreams? So there was this little voice in my head that would just never go away, no matter how much I tried to make it go away. So I started to think of ways I could go to school and complete my education. Going out of the house and joining a high school was a complete no-no. But I found something called the Independent Learning Center. And I called them, and the person at the other end of the line, when I first talked to them, I was actually pregnant with my older daughter. I was 18 years old. And he asked me, so how old are you? And why aren't you in school? And I said, I'm 18 and it's kind of complicated. And he said, well, most of the kids your age who are not going to regular high school and who are doing their high school courses through us are often kids who are in prison for whatever reason. And I found myself saying it's kind of the same situation, because that's really what it was like. I ended up ordering those courses nevertheless. And every day I would do my chores during the day. I would do all the big, good wife, good mom, good daughter-in-law kind of duties and serve him and his parents and take care of my baby. And then at night I would go into my room and I would study. And those few hours of doing my math questions and economics graphs and English essays were my escape time. At that time, I got to be just me. I got to be Samra. And it was as if that time was time that was for me and my soul. It took me about 4 or 5 years to finish my high school courses, 6 credits that I needed. I applied to university. And even though I got in, I couldn't go right away because I was denied OSAP, because OSAP looks at household funding, household income, family income, and his income was above the threshold, even though I never had a penny on me. So I knew that I needed to find a way to make money at home. Going out of the house and getting a job was not allowed. I wasn't even allowed to go into my own backyard. So how do I make money from home? And that inspiration came when I was actually out at the grocery store with my mother-in-law. And you know how you get out of the cashier line and you see community board with people's ad, like selling TV, like, old school Kijiji, but in like real life form. And I started to think, oh, wow, somebody's like, there's an ad for babysitting services. People can actually make money with that. And at that time, Kijiji was just starting up. So I started putting ads online and I established a home daycare. And even though most of my money would be taken away from me, I would still stash away a little bit on the side every month to build a nest egg that would pay for my first year tuition fee as a part-time student at the University of Toronto. So this whole journey took about 10 years before I was able to finally start school at U of T. And as a part-time student, I was given very strict instructions. Don't talk to anyone, don't make any friends, don't raise your hand in class. In other words, be invisible. But slowly, the wall started to crumble. People were starting to say, hey, how did you solve that question? You got such great marks on that test. Do you want to study with us? Do you want to grab coffee? Do you want to go to the student pub tomorrow? It's half price chicken wings on Tuesday. And this was the first time I was actually feeling included. I was feeling that I was part of something. I was being treated with kindness, respect, dignity, humanity, admiration for who I was, not because of some gender role that I did fit into or didn't fit into. And it opened my mind and I started questioning, why am I being treated with so much kindness if there is something so deeply wrong and flawed about me? And that's when I started really questioning that notion. And one day I stumbled upon the Health and Counseling Center at the university, which had a bunch of questions. There was a sign outside. Do you feel intimidated? Do you feel like you don't have a voice? You can't speak up? It was as if that sign was calling out to me. I went in and I made an appointment. And that's where I started to learn what was happening to me was not okay. There was a name for it. It was abuse. It was not normal. I did not deserve it. And most of all, it was not my fault. It took me another year or two to gain enough knowledge about my rights in this country as a woman, as a Canadian, as a human being, about the options that I had, about the fact that I didn't want my two daughters to grow up believing that being treated that way was okay for any reason, least of all your gender. And when I left the marriage, I was in my second year of university. I was 28 years old. I had two very young kids and no plan really. Like I just had some basic idea about, what I could do, some knowledge about my rights and counsel, having gone through counseling and stuff. But I had hope, a little bit of hope that maybe there's a slight, tiny chance that I can make it. I was working 4 or 5 jobs, on-campus jobs, part-time jobs, selling butter chicken and biryani to students on campus, working as a tutor and a TA, going to school full-time, taking care of my kids. And there were so many times that I felt that, I won't be able to make it. But even in each of those dark moments, somebody would say a few kind words. Somebody would show up with ice cream at my doorstep. a professor would say something motivational to me that would make me and teach me how to believe in myself, that would make me feel better about myself. So I kept taking it one step at a time, one day at a time. And eventually, when I graduated as a top student at the university, I was at another crossroads in life. What do I do with all this? Like I got more academic success than I could have ever imagined. And I could have taken those awards and accomplishments and my fancy new job. But on the other hand, I felt this hunger, passion, fire in me that this is not just my story. This is the story of millions and millions of us around the world who continue to struggle and suffer in silence because they're being told that they don't deserve better, because there are so many barriers that are set up in the system for inclusion. And I wanted to do my part to make a difference. That's when I started sharing my story 8 years ago. And today, here we are. And every day, I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like this is the more I do in this space, the more I feel that we need to do. And there's some very, very powerful and very key lessons that I've learned and I continue to learn, but some that have stayed with me and have kind of now become definitely become my way of being, my blueprint of life that I would love to share with you today and leave you with. First of all, oftentimes we as women, we stand in our own way. And that is not our fault. That's how we've been conditioned. That's how we have been oftentimes raised or told by society, by culture, by corporate culture. We have been made to feel that we need to fit into certain boxes. We need to diminish ourselves, and we don't have what it takes to move forward. But actually, what we do have is the ability to figure things out. The only difference between success and failure is getting back up every time you fail. That's it. There's no magic ingredient. There's no something that I have that others don't have. I always say that strength and power lies within us, not around us. When we find it within us, then others around us will champion us as well. But it starts from us. And even in those early years of my marriage, when I had no hope of ever being able to go to school, I would still stand in front of a mirror and practice my graduation speech. And that is the dream that I kept alive. So you got to keep your dreams. You got to keep them alive. And I always say, like, keep your visions big. Don't diminish your vision, but keep your eyes on the very next step. It's all those little steps that I took over the course of my life. And I never had a crystal ball or some kind of, fortune teller, that I have all my ducks in a row. I just had hope, courage, and the ability to just figure things out as I went along. And those are the things that I carry myself. Like, I'm making some big changes in my life right now. I don't know what the outcomes are, but I do know that I have the ability to figure things out as they go along. So take those risks and break those boxes. Secondly, surrounding ourselves with the right people. If you're not getting what you need from the people who are around you to be truly yourself and to reach your potential, that does not mean that you're asking for the wrong things. You're simply asking the wrong people. So surround yourself with different people. I never got support from my family, from my community, from a lot of people that I considered my friends and well-wishers. My parents are the ones who pushed me into a marriage. Everybody around me told me it was my job to stay and make it work. The backlash that I faced from my community was tremendous after I left my marriage, because I'd done something so shameful and so wrong for a woman to do, to walk away from my marriage. But today I'm surrounded by people who champion me and love me for who I am. And those are my chosen family. So you got to build your own personal cheerleading squad. And I can already tell by just a few minutes into this event that this is a woman's personal cheerleading squad. Like, all of us are each other's cheerleaders. So it starts with us, and then surrounding ourselves with the right people. And finally, always remember to pay it forward. And just seeing this vibrant community right now, how we're all celebrating each other, championing each other, nominating each other for awards. those are the things that, you know, we as women need to do even more of. We are often made to believe that there's a limited pie and we all have to fight each other for a bigger slice of that pie. But actually, we got to work each other to grow the size of the pie so everybody gets more. And it's not just enough to do it for women as a whole. Look at women for the lens of intersectionality, women who are coming from diverse backgrounds, from indigenous communities, women who are coming from BIPOC communities, women with disabilities. Like, we face even higher barriers and even lower glass ceilings. So it requires deliberate, thoughtful, and inclusive action, and a very, very intersectional approach. So leadership is not about job titles. It's not about hierarchies, or it's not about resumes and fancy letters beside your name. Leadership is about breaking barriers to inclusion. Leadership is about speaking up and sparking dialogue for change. It's about carving a path, not just for yourself, but also for others around us who are and with us, who can walk on that path and who can champion and make this world a more gender equitable and an equitable place overall. There are so many women right now who are not safe at home because of rising domestic violence, because of isolation. There are women right now who are displaced from work because they have obligations of childcare. So even though we're all, you know, we hear this, we're all in the same boat. We're not in the same boat. We're in the same storm. But a lot of us are cruising along in luxury yachts, but some of us are hanging on to any pieces of debris to keep our heads above water, and some sadly are drowning. So it's important to reach out, practice those random acts of kindness, celebrate each other, because I am living proof of the fact that a few kind words can save someone's life. And there is nothing worse than being in pain and feeling isolated and feeling that no one cares. And we can all do that for each other and for the people around us, and make this world a much more inclusive, equitable, and just a better place, not just for ourselves, but for women who will come generations after us. So thank you so much for including me. I'm so inspired with each and every one of you. And I look forward to keeping in touch. And please write to me, please share with me your stories as well. And congratulations to each and every one of you.